Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the webinar. Very exciting to be hosting my first ever solo webinar. So thank you for joining me and showing your support. I really appreciate it. And I hope to bring you as much content and value as possible in this short time that we have today. The series that I am launching right now is really about getting real with your story, and your story holds the key to your niche and your ideal client. Through your story, I will help you pinpoint who you want to work with and how you want to bring transformation to the world. So be prepared to really dig into those pivotal moments in your life that have brought you to where you are now. That right there is the gold in your entire business and in every connection with you that you have with other people. You know, we oftentimes think about our experiences as ours and not really something that need to be shared. And I know I personally have been told so many times that, you got to get out of your story in order to change. And, we all live in our story, which is not the present. But one thing that I found happened to me when I was doing that is I was slightly ashamed and felt guilty, embarrassed about my story, and that held me back. That kept me in my story in a way that kept me from being authentic and kept me from really having those tools to help others transform. Really a key factor in my shift has been in recognizing that it is through my story and my life experiences that make it so I can help other people. And nothing makes me feel as alive as helping other people. So I had to get real about that. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a college degree. And for a long time, I let that hold me back. But the truth of it is that that's not knocking those. It definitely shows a lot about your follow through, and you have a lot of knowledge that I might not have on certain levels, but it's your experience and your story that helps you relate to people. And if you're in a service-based business, you are here to serve people. And so your experience is as valid, or I believe more so, than any certificate or degree that you could possibly have. So the key then is to look at your story and make it real. Make it not just this thing that floats around in your head, but getting it to pull into shape. What were those moments that were pivotal? Those pivotal moments are the ones that hold all the gold. And I will help you get clear on that. I'm going to start by sharing with you my story, which is a very vulnerable place to go to. We spend our lives in our own heads and making things into some things that they are not. So for me, unbeknownst to me, my story really started when I was 6. And, even before that, my story really started when I was 3 years old and I was carrying my baby brother next door to our neighbor's house because my parents were fighting. At night, they would start yelling and screaming, and me and my brothers we were so scared. We were woken up, we didn't have anyone to talk to. And on this particular night, it was so loud and so scary that my big brother, who was 5 at the time woke me up and said, "Get Alex," my baby brother, who was just a few months old, in his crib. And I was as worried for my parents as I was worried for us. I was hurt. I was sad. I was mortified by the fact that everyone was scared. And we went over to our neighbor's house, who she had become quite accustomed, and sometimes I'm curious if she heard the arguing from her own home. But we sat on her porch and she comforted us and she talked to us about how things were and what was happening and that everything would be okay. And in that moment, I knew I didn't want my parents to hurt anymore. And I didn't want them to fight anymore. So I went into this place of not wanting to be a burden. My parents had enough burdens as it was. I didn't want to be a burden. So from barely 3, I started hiding my own needs and my own issues, and really stopped speaking up for myself, really stopped paying attention to my own needs in order to help other people. And so through my life, that became a theme. It's a very codependent ran to my core. And when I was 15 years old, I was standing in the bathroom holding a positive pregnancy test, not knowing what to do, but knowing exactly what to do. There wasn't a moment in my mind that I thought about anything other than having my daughter. So I decided, if I'm doing this, I'm going to do it right. I had so many family members telling me how I couldn't do it and how my life would be ruined and I couldn't offer my daughter the life she deserved. And I decided that would not be the case. That one thing I could be sure of is that I could be there for my daughter the way that I felt my parents hadn't been able to be there for me. And so I set out on this parenting journey that, wow, I didn't know what I was getting into. She is now 17 years old, and I can just cry thinking about it, but she is a phenomenal human being. And I believe her and I have a connection that most kids don't have with their moms nowadays, or maybe forever for that matter. And what I learned over the last 17 years really didn't come clear until about 2 years ago, when my life came falling apart again. I had been looking for these external things of approval. I had been looking to have the relationship and the job and the amount of money in the house so that I looked like I knew what I was doing. But that wasn't what was working. It got stripped away from me again. God has a way of doing that. You know, when you have your value placed in something that it does not belong in, it will come crashing down and you will no longer be allowed to find value in it. So 2.5 years ago, when everything came crashing down again, I had to look and see what truly is the power in my parenting. What do I truly want to stand for my kids? I needed to pull myself up and put myself back together in a way that no one could shake it. No one, nothing. And I went to school to become a coach. And as a coach, what I learned to do for other people was what they had me do for myself, which was get curious, get in there and understand what is it? What makes you tick? What is it underlying under all those I can'ts? It's too hard. I'm too tired. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. I don't have enough. All these things that were going through in my mind. And that coaching opened me to being there for myself in a way I'd never been. What was it? Let's get real. And it transformed not only my life, but my kids' lives. Because as a coach, you have to be curious. And I started applying my coach approach to being a mom. And as their mom, I could understand on their level what they were dealing with, and I could help them overcome it in the way that they needed. And so this was really a key for me as a coach and as a mom and as a person and as a friend. And it's literally transformed every single relationship that I have. So I'm here to help you do that. I'm going to end this broadcast because now I think I know how it works.